As entrepreneurs, we all have different stories. Is it possible to act despite our fear and own our stories so we can stand out in the marketplace? We're going to dig into this question with our special guest today. I cannot wait. I'm super excited to dig into this. You don't want to miss this. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe marketing shouldn't be difficult. All you need is the right plan. I am super excited to have Michael Unbroken with me from Think Unbroken. Michael, welcome, and thanks for taking the time.
Tim, my man, it is a pleasure. I'm super excited to be here with you, brother.
And we found out before we jumped on that you're in Denver. I am just south of Denver. What a pleasant surprise! We already think alike, so I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, man. The universe was like, dude, be in Denver, so I'm in Denver, and we'll see what happens.
Before we jump into owning our story, I want to ask you some rapid fire questions to help us get to know you a bit.
Let's do it.
You ready to jump in with both feet?
Rock and roll, man, always.
Okay. When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
So that's a rarity because I actually love working, and I think people misconstrue entrepreneurship as like workaholism. And so because I love what I do, like I go every day, man, every day because I'm trying to build something. But when I'm not in build mode, it's I love MMA. So you will catch me watching Muay Thai online or TV or UFC. I practice Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu for a very long time. I read a lot. But dude, honestly, man, I love what I do. I love creating. I love building. I run 3 companies, so downtime's kind of rare. But when I get it, it's definitely probably MMA.
What's your hidden talent?
That I do not care about what you think about me.
Dude, I love it. I tell my kids this all the time. Whose opinion of you matters the most? It's yourself.
Yeah.
Don't care about what other people. Most of the problems we have are because we care about what other people think. So that is a fantastic hidden talent. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Dude, literally to this day, I was 18 years old, so I didn't graduate high school. My business teacher, the irony in my whole life right now is this moment of not graduating, going up to his classroom, being incredibly pissed off, being like, "Why didn't you pass me?" And he goes, "Look, I didn't fail you. You failed yourself." And like that was a smack to the face, but then the follow up was even more because it literally changed the trajectory of the rest of my life. And he goes, "Look, dude, you got to understand something about life. If you want to get by, you're going to have to put in work. You're not going to get by in your charms and your good looks. If you want something, you have to earn it." Changed my whole life.
What's one thing about you that surprises people?
Probably that I'm so compassionate and empathetic. People see me, I'm 6'4", 220, covered in tattoos, drive a big old truck. You know what I'm saying? I think people kind of look at me and go, "What does that dude know about kindness?" And I'm like, everything.
I love it. What's success mean to you?
On the day that I die, not having any regrets.
Where's your happy place?
Right here. Like I love this. I love connecting. I love communicating. I love bringing value to people because the one thing that I always think about is I believe this is true. We have an obligation to teach others what we've learned.
What qualities do you value in the people you spend time with?
Honesty, self-awareness, compassion, empathy, no excuses. Like if you're out here making excuses and blaming the world and playing the victim, like I can't mess with you. Life does not care about your problems. But that said, the people who are resilient and find a way to overcome, there's something really incredible about seeing a person who is confident because they had to rise through the chaos of their own life.
So tell us more, Michael, about what you're doing with Think Unbroken. Who are you working with? How are you helping folks?
Yeah, Think Unbroken came to me. So 6 years ago, I was writing a blog, just putting out information about childhood trauma and abuse because I had a super traumatic childhood. It impacted my life incredibly negatively. And I was just putting out content that I thought would be beneficial for people. I was like, oh, maybe my brothers will read this, maybe my sister, maybe my community. And slowly people would be like, hey, man, that thing that you were writing, like, I get that. Or that thing you wrote changed my life. And then it started turning into like that, you saved my life. And that was heavy. And then people would be like, hey, can you coach me? And I was like, no, I don't know how to do that. and so, and so what happened is about 5 years ago, I'm laying in bed. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I had remembered this thought came across me where I was like, man, every time people have mental health ailments or issues or diagnoses, or they don't fit in the mold, or they're not like you, like people label them broken. And I was like, man, there's something real fucked up about that, because like, that's not who I am. That's not what I believe. That's not how I think. And literally, like in the middle of the night, a light bulb moment changed the trajectory of my life forever. And Think Unbroken started being what it is today. And today, you know, I've written 3 books. I've coached thousands of people around the world. I have, you know, a top-rated podcast. I've been able to impact the lives of thousands and thousands of people. And it's very, very simple what I do, Tim. I show people the framework and the tools of what it requires in order to do the hardest thing that we do, and that's learn to love ourselves and be the hero of our own story.
I love it. So are you typically working with business owners? Are you working with, you know, just anybody?
Dude,
What does that
everybody.
typically
Look,
look like?
man, it's crazy, right? Look at the statistics. 83% of people in this country have an adverse childhood experience, right? That could be divorce, molestation, getting beat, being malnourished, you know, having a suicide attempt in the family, a family member going to prison. The list goes on and on and on, right? I would argue it's probably higher, like 95%, because you factor in non-reports, you factor in, you know, you grow up in households like mine where it was like, don't you ever talk about anything that happens in this house, right? And then so now you have this huge populace of people who have had these experiences in their life where now they're, you know, 18, 36, 72 years old, and they don't know how to be them. Because the truth about, you know, childhood trauma and abuse is it's a theft of identity. You learn how to not be you. And so, dude, I've worked with executives at Facebook. I've worked with people who are just moms and dads who are just trying to hustle and get by. I've worked with a ton of entrepreneurs, worked with teachers, everybody, man. I've had clients as young as 18 and as old as 64 years old, right? And everybody in between, all races, sexes, genders, orientations, like everybody. Like, it's crazy to me because people are like, who's your target client? I'm like, fucking humans. You know what I mean? And like I thought for a very long time about and having a marketing and branding background and doing this so long, like I narrowed my niche down. I knew exactly what I was doing, exactly what I was building, how I wanted it to look. And then it was like, as clients came in, as people came in and we started coaching, like I would just see it was just such a vast array of people that even if I wanted to, I couldn't pay. Dude, I've worked with people now in 15 different countries. You know what I mean? Like, this is a global problem. And so it's fascinating to me because, you know, it's about impact.
But so most of them are coming to you because they had some type of adverse childhood, whether it's a single event or something that was ongoing, something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now as a marketer, I look at that and I'm like, that's still a niche, right? There are all kinds of different people, but it's this that's the common bond.
Yes.
So the people that come to you, are they come to you because they've reached a point where they know that experience is holding them back?
Yeah. Great question, man. That's a great question. People will come to me, and look, I tell people all the time, if my books, the podcast, the online programs, those are always the entry point. But if you ever want to do group coaching or one-on-one coaching, like you've already got to be deep in this process, because if you're just tapping your toe into this for the first time, the level and pace at which I move is probably going to be too intense for you and like throw you off the boat. And so the people who are coming to me initially, it's curiosity. It's reading a title like Overcoming Childhood Trauma. People, you know, do not talk about this. Dude, well, I'll give you context, Tim. This is going to sound crazy, but it's true. My first book sold like 10,000 copies. There are 50 reviews online about it. because people are terrified to have this conversation. Right. And
Yeah.
so it's people who have come from this place where they know something's wrong. They felt it. Their life is impacted negatively. They're tired of not being able to show up for themselves. They're tired of self-sabotage. And it's really interesting too, because they may be like how I was, where they were super successful in business, but the rest of their life was a disaster, or their relationships are a disaster, or their kids don't talk to them, or they don't know how to put up boundaries. Dude, it's incredible to me how many men I coach, and the first thing that I teach them is boundaries. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy to me. And so it's this really interesting, really amalgamation of all of these people from all these different experiences who are just like, I feel like if I can work through this, my life can be different.
So let's jump in. How can we take ownership in our story and stand out in the marketplace?
You know, it's really funny, man. And I'm going to call you out right now. You're not even wearing your own brand on your chest right now.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
I tell people this all the time. Like, nobody's going to rep your business harder than you. Nobody cares about your business. Right? I see people who they rock Versace and Balenciaga, right? And they have businesses, but they don't like, why are you not wearing your t-shirt? Why do you not have this plastered all over your car? Why are you not telling everybody about this? I'll tell you why most people don't. And I'm not pointing you out particularly, Tim.
That's all good.
I'm just saying most people don't because they're terrified of judgment. They're terrified that somebody is going to think a certain way about their company, about their brand, about their idea, about their mission, about their values, about their colors, about whatever. Man, look, you need to own your story so much that you know your brand color hex code. Mine is DAA 520. I know exactly what color the gold of my brand is. You need to be able to put yourself in this position where you're willing to have radical ownership over who it is that you are, over your story and what you want. Because look, people will always say this, the market's saturated. No, it's not. You suck at marketing. Why do you suck at marketing? Because you're terrified to go and put yourself out there by owning your story and sharing the thing that you've created. You know, one of the greatest things that one of my mentors, Grant Cardone, has ever taught me is promote, promote, promote. And I believe that entirely. And the reason that I believe that is because, like, the truth is you could have the greatest product on planet Earth, the thing that people need so desperately. And you're like, oh, I made an Instagram post. Did you? Did you? Are you feeling good about that? Because look, the reality is you're going to need to make 5 million of them, and you're going to need to make podcasts every single day, and you're going to need to do all the things that put your content out for free by creating massive value for people in your space. But you're terrified to do that because you think you're going to get judged. And here's why. Because look, there's causation and correlation. I believe in rhyme and reason of everything. There was a trajectory that led you to this place where you're in your life right now. And you're like, I got this idea, but I'm scared to talk about it. Because Tim, when you were 7 years old in 3rd grade, you sat down and you started coloring the moon purple. And Miss Smith walked over to you and she was like, Tim, that's not how you color the moon. What is wrong with you? And so you learned to turn off your imagination, your creativity, your ability to put yourself into the world because there was a ramification. Judgment, shame, guilt. You got ostracized from the other kids. They go, haha, Tim, you color the moon purple. What's wrong with you? Don't you know it's fucking yellow? And then now you have this amazing business and you don't put it out into the market because you're scared of ridicule. And so you have to be willing to step through that fear. People are already judging you. People already,
every day.
People don't like me. Tim, people don't like me. I don't care. That has nothing to do with me. When I'm trying to impact and change the world, if I don't put my message out there, how in the world is somebody who's going to need the thing that could save their life, change their life, make their life better, impact them in a way that forever makes them a lifetime customer if I'm unwilling to have this conversation?
I want to pull 2 things out of here, Michael. Tell me if I'm hearing you correctly, because I'm getting 2 things from what you just said. The way that we can own our story and stand out in the marketplace first is it goes back to what you said before. We need to stop caring about what other people think. The second thing is, once we get to that place, then we actually need to take action, and we need to take it consistently over and over and over again.
I don't think it's a if then, Tim. I think it's a parallel.
Okay.
Because I think that the only way that you're going to move into that place of that radical ownership is simultaneously whilst going through this process of silencing the other voices. And the only way that you do that is radical action. Like, you're just going to have to put yourself. One of you listening to this right now are like, I have this dream that will change the world forever. And you're terrified to put it out there. I promise you, if you just do it, everything will be different for you. Everything. And then it's you know this, Tim, it's repetition. Just keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, when you act in spite of your fear, the more you act, the more comfortable you get. You expand your comfort zone, and it's what was once scary all of a sudden is not scary anymore. Which kind of leads into our next question, right? So how can we commit even when we're scared or we're fearful? How do we get past that?
You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop negotiating with yourself. Get out of your head about it and just do the damn thing. Like the amount of discipline that you have to have for success is impractical. It's almost like, I think it's almost actually far-fetched, right? Because think about anything that you've successfully built in your life. You had to be so disciplined to it. That commitment just wasn't even negotiable. You're like, I am doing this. One of the biggest flaws that I see in people who are entrepreneurs today, people especially in marketing, is they're like, we're going to try this thing 4 times. And if it doesn't work, we're going to go to the next thing. And I'm like, you should try that thing until you've run every possible variable, every scenario, every possible outcome, again, ad nauseum, so that you have data, right? Because people switch too much in marketing.
Yeah.
They're like, man, we're going to create 75 landing pages, and we're going to do this and do that, and we're going to change all the ad copy. And I'm like, dude, just do 1 page and then 1 ad copy and then run it and then change the ad copy, then run it, then change the ad copy, then run it, right? And it's this process of people don't want to do it because that commitment means, and I think about this all the time, dude, and this will blow your mind. The level of commitment that it requires to reach success means that you have the potential to actually be successful if you're willing to commit. But people are terrified of success, and so they don't commit. It's self-sabotage. Because, you know, one of the things it's the Sharon Lecter idea, right? That 3 feet from gold. Like, you're right here. That thing that you want, if you just do it again tomorrow might be the day. But it might also be 15 years from now. And I think about this all the time, man, literally every single day. My goals are 37 years away. And in 5 years, my goals will be 37 years away, right? And that's this weird mind game that I play with myself that really, in essence, forces me into commitment. Because I go, whatever I want is so improbable that I can't possibly reach it in the near future. So I'm going to act massively towards that every single day so that hopefully on a long enough timeline it comes to pass. But when you get alignment with your value, like you know, you can go read a book like Simon Sinek's Why, right? It's really simple. Like, find your why, attach to that, create the pathway to the thing that you want. That can help you move through fear because now you're moving towards something bigger than you. But you have to be aligned with that. And so many people are like, I want to change the world. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
You've got to have clarity. Dude, look, I'm going to context. Think Unbroken's mission is very simple: to end childhood trauma and abuse through education and information in my lifetime so that another kid does not have a story like my story. I know exactly to a T what I am doing. It's improbable, it's impossible, it's far-fetched, but that's not going to stop me because I committed. Am I scared? Yes, because people go, dude, you don't even have a high school diploma. Who are you to talk about this stuff? I'm like, I don't even have a college degree. You wrote 3 books? I sure did. What is that? Your opinion of me has nothing to do with me. You have to commit. Because fear is not, you know this as well as I do, fear is not going away. And the deeper you get into success in business, the bigger that fear will be, because suddenly you're going to find yourself, instead of making $300 investments, $30,000 and $300,000 and then $3 million. And then you're like really talking about money. You're really talking about impact and change. And so if you're hesitant because you're all up in your head about things instead of deciding, which is the precursor to this entire thing, then you're in trouble. Commit first, figure out the rest later. Like, really just show up. You know, it's really interesting to me. When I was 20 years old, I landed a job with a Fortune 10 company making 6 figures. Impossible where I come from. No high school diploma. They literally handed it to me. Dude, they go to me, we're so tired of you. Your 1.6 GPA, your hundreds of days of missed school. In 1 year, 100 days I missed. Getting arrested, getting kicked out of school, getting in fights. They're like, we're done with you. Here's your diploma. Good luck. And I looked at my life and I said, okay, hold on a second. I'm going to be in real trouble if I don't figure something out. And I said, all right, I want to make $100,000 a year legally. That was important to me. Dude, that was so important because like, I have family in prison for life. I've been in handcuffs multiple times. Today, my 3 childhood best friends have been murdered. Dude, I knew where I was going, and I made a commitment to myself, even though I was terrified, because that meant I have to get out of my neighborhood. I got to go and learn skills. I have to like show up to job interviews and learn how to like present myself. I have to start somewhere. And so I started this idea. I was like, okay, how do you make $100,000 a year legally? I was like, okay, I'm going to go get a job at a fast food spot. That's the only thing rationally that made sense to me how I grew up. Be a manager. They probably do well, right? So I ended up becoming a manager of a fast food spot. At 18 years old, I have 52 people under me. Like, talk about learning leadership, right? Yeah. and I parlayed that with putting myself in a position of just learning constantly. That led me to this place of 2.5 years later, landing this job with a Fortune 10 company. By the time I turned 21, I cashed my first check for $10,000, right? I committed to the dream. I said, no matter what, I'm going for this. Now, I would come to find out money does not solve your problems. I promise you it doesn't. But in that moment, what was really special was like I committed so much, even though I'm this kid from the hood who's an orphan, who has sold drugs most of his life, who has no high school diploma or education. I'm going to get a job making fucking 6 figures, period. So that's the thing about this. Fear is always going to be there. You got fear of society, fear from your neighbors, your community, your partner might not support you. Your kids, let me tell you this, your kids don't care about your dreams. So stop telling them because they literally don't care. And then the other part of it, the fear that you have about yourself and success. You're so tied up into this narrative that you don't deserve it, that you won't give it to yourself. And so when you start to shift that perspective and you change the narrative, man, when you change the narrative and you commit, you can do anything. It's unbelievable.
Michael, you just dropped some serious value in there. I wanna pull something out that you said that I think I see this all the time in business. You were talking about marketing and people trying for, I did this 4 times and it's not working. And then you touched on your goals being 37 years out. We need to think long-term. It's short-term thinking that I think gets in the way of us making strong decisions. I've seen this in business over and over and over again. People make decisions that they think are going to benefit them in the short term. It absolutely railroads them in the long term. What are your thoughts on that? Have you seen that play out as well?
100%. I've done it too. Of course
we all do it.
Dude, I mean, I wasted 5 figures one time on a short-term decision that later came to bite me in the ass because I was like, oh, if I get in this right now, man, I'm going to win, right? And I literally I might as well put that money in the trash can and set it on fire. And so, it's one of these things I adapted. So I was on Ask Gary Vee years and years and years ago, like at the very beginning of it. And one of the questions that was asked while I was on that episode, somebody was talking about like goals, and that Gary Vee idea about the macro goals, micro action changed the way I was thinking about business, because I recognize that everyone that I know who is successful in business, who's a millionaire, who's a billionaire, who are people who have massive empires, and the people who are growing into massive empires. They've all been doing it for 15 or 20 years, period. I've never met, outside of your kind of fly-by-night, maybe you got lucky because of social media pop, outside of that handful of people, I don't know anyone actually successful in life who did it in less than 15 years, period. And that's what it takes. And so when you get aligned with these goals that are so big that that you have accepted the reality that it's going to take you that long, but you're moving like you can only do it within the next 5 seconds, you have a better likelihood of accomplishing that mission and that goal. So when you're in this position, and I know we want the quick win, but maybe the quick win is that you put the blog out today. Maybe the quick win is you showed up on the podcast. Maybe the quick win is you did $1,000 in business and it was your first $1,000 day. You know, it's so funny to me. People are always worried about making their first million. I'm like, make your first 1,000. Make your first 100,000. Because if you can make 100,000, you can make 1,000,000. I promise you that. But the 100,000 is way more difficult than the million. And I've done that multiple times. And I'll tell you right now, every time I've started a new business, a new venture, went in, flipped something, whatever it is, like that very first 12 months is always more difficult than the following 12 months. Every time. Because you're learning systems, you're learning processes, you're building SOPs, figuring out your KPIs, you're putting yourself in this position of creating brand narrative and storyteller and customer identity and the whole nine, and you're just screwing it up the whole time. But you can dummy yourself into 100,000. So focus on that and stop worrying about 10 million. Worry about the mission and let the money come, because if you execute right, it will.
I couldn't say it better. So, so we've been talking a lot about fear, being scared. How do we overcome that fear to find and build that power in our brand voice?
Yeah, man. Look, I think that it would be so dismissive to sit here and be like, I don't have fear. I fear every day. I'm scared every day because there's a lot on the line. Not only in this business, but in the other businesses, there's a lot on the line. I got almost 50 people who rely on me executing so that they can feed their kids. There's a lot on the line. There's fear. I got to worry about myself, my health, my family, my community, my people, my volunteer work, my philanthropy, my business, my everything, my future, right? There's always fear. The very first thing, like this pen, dude, this is the most important tool in your whole arsenal. You will never have a more powerful tool. You'll never take a course that will give you what this pen will give you, because you sit down. This is what I do every single morning. First thing I do when I get in my journal and I write my goals, then I figure out my day. I write face fear. So literally the first thing I write every single day. And I don't know what today's fear is going to be. I have no idea, but it's coming. I promise you. And I think about this all the time. The one thing, it kind of comes back to what you asked me at the beginning of this, the one thing that terrifies me, my greatest fear, is that I will die with regrets. Nothing is scarier to me than that. And so the idea that I would lie on my deathbed and that blink right before it's over, I'm rushed with, I should have done that. Dude, that's terrifying to me. Think about all these people who have died with regret. You hear about it all. The number one regret of the dying is that they didn't do the thing they wanted to do. Quit your job, leave that relationship, start that business, do the podcast, travel the world, sell everything that you own, get the coach, do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes, because I promise you, if you do not, then on your deathbed, that blink right before it's over, you're going to get a rush of regret. And that is a life not lived. And so how do you actually do that, though? It's very simple. It's very simple. You do it. Whatever that thing is that keeps you awake at night, that thing that you're like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been thinking about this for 7 straight nights. I can't sleep. I'm exhausted. It's the only thing on my mind. Do that thing, and your life will be different. Because guess what? And it sucks, dude. I promise you it sucks. Because sometimes it is quitting the job you've been at for 15 years. Sometimes it's leaving the relationship where you got 2 kids and a husband. Sometimes it's ending the partnership with somebody who used to be your best friend. Sometimes it's packing up your whole life and moving to another city. Like the other side of everything that you want in your life is based on the decisions that you make today. And you're going to keep waiting. Dude, I wish people would realign their understanding of time and death, because you're not promised. I'm not promised the next sentence, man. I could die right now talking to you. And it's like, if you can get to this place in your life that you can build a relationship of complete comfort in knowing that you're going to die, like, and really own that, I promise you, you will move through the world differently. I know I'm going to die. I'm surprised I'm here right now. Dude, if you heard half the stories I had, you'd be like, what? How are you even alive? And that means to me that I'm out of time. Every single second from the moments in which I should have been dead, which there are a couple, I'm just chalking that up to fucking bonus time. But that fear, it's not going to go away. The next thing is coming, I promise you. And so be willing to face it, because when you do, everything is different.
You know, have you ever seen Band of Brothers?
Yes.
One of the things you just said just popped that right into my head, where there's a scene and if for people watching or listening, if you have not seen Band of Brothers, it's a World War II. It's a series.
Yeah.
There was a scene early on where these soldiers, they get into a small battle, and one of the characters just is paralyzed with fear, terrified. The bullets are starting to whiz by, terrified. And one of his brothers just takes him, looks at him, and he's like, dude, once you realize that you are already dead, you will be fine. And dude, that just gives me chills just saying it. But I started thinking about it after, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, dude, you're paralyzed with this fear. You're already dead. Once you can be okay with that, you will actually be able to function, and you will be able to function well. What you said just got me thinking about that. And it's, we face your fear, and the death of fear is certain, right? I don't remember who said it, but we have to act.
Yeah. And look, and I think you also don't even need that. Like, I had a pivotal moment of death. Like, boom, it was right there twice now. But I'll say this, one of the things I've always thought is interesting, and I don't remember who said this, so I won't quote them, so I'll paraphrase, but basically it was to the effect of, from the moment you come out of the womb, your body is moving towards atrophy.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, yep, that's super true. So act like it.
Yeah. We got to seize every moment.
Totally, man.
Yeah. Michael, this has been awesome, man. You dropped some serious value here. Any last minute thoughts you want to leave us with today?
Yeah, look, man, like, I know people are going to hear this and think that I'm somehow special, or I figured it out, or I was born with some extra gene. I'm not. I've had to suffer my way to success. And I think Tom Bilyeu says it the best. Success is not guaranteed, but the suffering is. And I think that when you can just acknowledge that nobody is special, nobody knows anything more than you, the only difference between people who are successful and failure, however you choose to define that, because it's going to be different for everybody, the only difference is decisions. That's it. The decisions that you make right now are the difference between where you're at and where you can go.
If people want to learn more about what you're doing with Think Unbroken, take advantage of your programs, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, there's coaching.thinkunbroken.com. But I tell people all the time, you don't have to buy a book, buy a program, come to an event, nothing. You can listen to the Think Unbroken podcast, and literally everything I teach is there, all of it. So it's just Think Unbroken podcast on iTunes or Spotify, or thinkunbrokenpodcast.com.
Awesome. Michael, thank you so much, man. This has been fantastic. I've certainly enjoyed the conversation. If you guys want to learn more, like Michael said, go to coaching.thinkunbroken.com, or just search Think Unbroken podcast and take a look. Michael, again, thank you so much. For those of you watching, listening, I appreciate you. If you are struggling with your marketing, you are not sure what that next right step should be, you're trying things and nothing seems to be working, hop on over to our website, rialtomarketing.com. That's RIALTO marketing.com. Click on the Get a Free Consultation button, and I will give you some clarity on what your next steps should be. Thanks so much. Till next time. Take care.